Greetings, welcome to Tribal Jazzman Scholar. We evolved in wild nature. This complex organism, this Homo sapien, in spite of all the fanciful ideas we sometimes hold about ourselves and then hold ourselves above all the rest of the natural world, we are still the products of this glorious transition from stromatolite single-celled organisms to these complex bipedal hominids that can reflect on their own worlds, that can speak into these smartphones and record themselves and then put that onto an internet. I mean, we are complex, and we can get caught up in the wonder of our creations, and we can get pretty self-aggrandized in response to the majesty of our creativity and our accomplishments technologically. But we're still Homo sapiens. We are still living, breathing organisms that have to eat and excrete, and that will die and become dust. And we get this short tenure on the earth, and it's important to step away from our accomplishments and remember how connected we are to the vibrant living earth, and to dwell, for me, the importance of dwelling on the fact that I have, just as a member of my ancestral line, I'm the one who has awakened to this technological world, and to have awakened at a time when I actually can see that whole history. I can tell you that Australopithecines were my bipedal hominid ancestors who had descended from the trees 2 to 3 million years earlier, and then they became the Homo habilis who created stone tools 2 million years ago, and that Homo habilis became Homo erectus, who discovered fire 800,000 years ago, and that Homo habilis and Homo erectus eventually became Homo sapiens some 200,000 years ago, and that those Homo sapiens left Africa 50,000 years ago, and eventually settled into farming communities 10,000 years ago. That 10,000 year window, compared to this 3.5 million years of bipedal hominid predatory omnivory, is a very, very small window. So I get to know that I'm the human at the front of an ancestral line with an obligation to try and retrace my own history, regain something of my own wildness in a domesticated world where I am numbed to the majesty of the living, breathing earth, and I am blind to the implications of our technology with respect to the ecosphere and what it's doing to our planet. I want to regain something of that ancient wisdom that I must care for the earth, that I must express deep gratitude for the nourishment I gain from the earth. As I take a bite of oatmeal with raisins and almond butter and banana and milk, all these nutritional ingredients, the raisin came from the grape, came from the seed. The oats came from the seeds of that grass that produced that oat. The almond butters came from the nut. The milk came from the cow. All of those things came from this sentient, breathing, living earth that I am connected to. So as I eat my food, can I go back through each of these ingredients into the sentient earth and be in a place of gratitude? Can I make this cyclical connection back to the earth? When we think in cycles, whether it's seasonal cycles, whether it's diurnal, daily, nocturnal, when we are aware of the moon cycles, the life-death cycles, the cycle of life and death that sustains my body, the carrot I pull from the earth and eat. When I'm aware of the cycles, I begin to realize that I live in cycles. I awake each morning and go through ritual cycles of whether it's brushing teeth or stretching or walking or talking or whatever it is I do as a morning ritual, that these are cycles and these ground me in the earth. All the great oral traditions talk about time and cycles. And even the Big Bang, if you believe some of the current theories, it's an expansion outward into this blossoming Homo sapien awareness, and then it will be a contraction back, potentially, to yet expand again into awareness, transformation, and return. It's like the rite of passage. The separation, the movement out, the transformation, and the return, even that is a cycle. And so what happened to Homo sapiens when they began to write 5,000 years ago? They began to record history. And history became a dry chronicle of events that we hold to be true, and we seem to be just little moments in that history. We appear for this brief window in this linear history, and there is no native peoples that has ever seen history as linear. It's always a cycle. And we live in these cycles of day and night, moon cycles, seasonal cycles, life-death cycles. We live in our own daily ritual cycles, and part of our alienation has come from linear history. So we have to be willing to see that for its limitation. The advantages that it gives us, we need to recognize. The grasp of our own past, but also the limitations of seeing everything as linear. Is that we fall out of cycle, we fall out of ritual. So, thanks for joining Tribal Jazzman Scholar. We'll see you again soon.